I have Reidar at my side, who actually knows about AI. So, you want to introduce yourself as well?
Maybe I can help you with this topic, but I need more information from you. Thank you very much. I needed to do this. Hi, I'm Reidar from Mitwald. I do many things. Most of the time it's data science, artificial intelligence, a little bit information security, stuff like that. I love data. I love transforming data. I love what AI is, what you can do with AI and data. And I'm here such that Martin is not a very proud dog, I don't know, to conquer this problem of there are many things that are presented here in this talk, and we will hope to give you the best input such that you go out here and can say, yeah, I need to do this tomorrow and try it.
Maybe like what's important to know is you might know us as a hosting company, but we've also been doing quite a lot of product development with AI lately, which is where we learned quite a lot. We have worked with a lot of new tools that at least I hadn't worked with before. And we're not going to be talking about any kind of product right now, but we're going to be talking about the tools that we're working with. Because I think those are really interesting and you can do a lot of stuff with it. Yeah.
Then let's deep dive into Diffie.
Yes, we want to talk about one tool in particular, which is called Diffie.ai. And to be totally honest, I don't even know if that is the way that it's supposed to be pronounced. I've also heard variations like Defy, but I don't really know. So we can speculate together on that one. I think we're going to show the possibilities of solutions that you can build with Diffie in a moment. I could talk about what it does, but I think it's easier to show than to tell. We are not affiliated with them in any way. We're just happy users. It's an open source product. You can host it yourself. You can also buy a managed service from them if you don't want to bother hosting it yourself. I think it's a Chinese company, so you're going to have to decide on your own if you're going to trust them or not. But if you just want to get started, the deployment is not really trivial. They do have a Docker Compose file that you can just clone from the GitHub and start up. If you have a look at it, it's, as I said, the deployment is not trivial. It's like, I think, 10 different containers with all different kinds of databases and vector stores and whatever. The list of environment variables that you need to configure is like this long. But you can, in theory, host it on your own infrastructure, which also extends to the AI models if you wanted to. Yeah. So do we want to jump right into action?
The next is blank, right?
Think so. I just cobbled these together really. Oh yeah, it's a blank slide. Yeah.
Then we're going to do a deep dive. Probably it's better if I sit, because only showing with one hand is quite difficult. We're going to change the screens here.
And also, we're both over 30, so it's getting hard to do this for an entire presentation while standing up.
I'll give you this. Thank you.
Dankjewel. Do I need this anymore?
Earlier, this is not prepared in a way that we spend many time in preparation. It's just, we think this tool is cool, we want to show you, and feel free to see all our failures we are going to do. Be happy, and I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, now it's 4K. Oh no, what happened? Oh no.
One condition, it should be brilliant failures.
Oh yeah. We're going to be if there's failure, it's going to be brilliant, definitely.
Oh God. No. Okay.
Yeah, I can say. Let's hope you all have good eyes, because it's going to be tiny if I see it correctly.
Okay. Just give me a moment. Oh yeah, the mirror is 4K. It's nice, but
We now do this bit that you do at the eye doctor, where you get different lenses, and so they ask you, is it better like this, or like this, or like this?
Hopefully, I didn't test this before.
Actually, I do also have a local setup running, but I don't have all the workflows prepared that you had.
I deleted them all, it's no problem. HTML2, yeah, correct. Come on.
Hey!
Okay, it's at least HP. So if you start Diffie like Martin showed, you see that there are a couple of containers coming up. And for those of you who are interested, what is Diffie doing? Diffie is a framework, framework, a tool. I don't know how to explain it. We will see it in a moment. But in principle connects LangChain to AI models, but makes it easy. I could do a whole session about how great LangChain is and how many problems you can have with LangChain. You can spend quite a lot of time, and what we see here is Diffie comes at least, of course, with a web server. And
I think you need to zoom in, just a little bit.
Probably.
But like I can read it, but I'm standing literally right in front of the screen. So.
And what is the most interesting at this point is we have a VBA database. I don't know if you know VBA. If you're working with AI, you most probably want some kind of data store, where you want to put your data in so that AI can process it. That's the biggest problem from my perspective in product design, because where to put our data, it's GDPR compliant, is it security compliant, whatever. And VB8 is a vector database. It's very simple. You simply put your stuff in there, and a vector gets created, and the AI can work with this vector. Comes all out of the box, and if you start Diffie, you see it takes a time, and then
we could go off on a tangent and explain how AI systems actually process text, like with vectorization and embeddings, but I think we're going to be skipping that one.
We can switch to it.
Like we only have 45 minutes.
I can also explain to you how a transformer works out of the box. Well, it's maybe too deep. It's about making AI easy. Everybody of you, I think everybody of you should be able to use ChatGPT to perform a task. I need this, upload a document, I need that. That's cool. The most interesting thing is how to transform this into a product or a workflow design that you can say, okay, I don't want to use ChatGPT all the time. Is there an automation? And you can build these automatations not only with Diffie, but also with other tools. And there's my laptop in the way. And if you set up Diffie, it's not so difficult as described. If you don't want some special things, you need to log in, and there you are. The first thing you have to do is to go to settings. There's documentation everywhere, and set up your model provider. And there's the first very interesting thing. You have to set up an AI model. It's an AI tool chain, so you need an AI model that is not included in Diffie, but you can choose from nearly everything. It's amazing. Of course, OpenAI, but there's also Hugging Face. Very interesting if you're trying to explore new things. Many models are only on Hugging Face. Everything you can dream of, and of course, I think if there is a search option or something, you can include OpenLlama models. Meaning, if you're saying, I want to have an AI do this and that, and I'm not allowed to put it on external servers, well, then host your own model. There are many tools like OpenLlama which make it very easy. Connect OpenLlama and you're done. Then you can self-host this, and it's, from my perspective, a very good way to implement this into compliance things. Okay.
Or if you're just wanting to get started quickly, just give him your OpenAI key and throw money at it.
And it's as easy as this. You give them an OpenAPI key, and that's all. This you can set up multiple models, and you can later choose which model to use. This is the important part, and now comes the great part. We could start from blank, but we could also choose a template. And here's where the strength of Diffie comes. Diffie tries to automate nearly everything. You see there are 67,000 GitHub stars. This project has become huge in the last 2 years. It's one of the most popular tools. And of course, if so many people are collaborating, you have, and I will explain later what this is, you have something like knowledge, you have explore, where you can try some things. And in your studio, they call it studio, you can create your workflows. And if you create a workflow, you can also choose which workflow you want to have. We'll show you that in a second. For example, if you create from blank, and this is interesting, you can say, I want a chatbot, I need an interface, a chatbot or something like that. You can create an AI agent, you don't want to go into that. Or you can create a workflow. And the workflow is very, very interesting because in the end, it's an API that does all this AI stuff. And you can say, hey, API, here's something to do, and you wait, and you're done. And in between, there's all this AI stuff. But you have to configure it. This is very interesting. I will show you that in a second. I will show you now. For demonstration purposes, let's create it with a template. An interesting and easy one, I think I thought it was something like sentiment analysis. Not so interesting from AI perspective, but good to show what a workflow does. I use this template. You can do it, it's all on your own. Set it up, great, and here is what Diffie makes great. As you can see, this is your workflow. You connect parts, you create a process, you connect structures, and you can, with statements and conditions, you can build very complicated workflows with this. If this, then that, retry, go around, ask for more input, whatever. It's so powerful, this tool. And what this does in the end here is, we have a start node. We need some kind of input. We are sentiment analysis, so let's see what happens. Then there is a bridge which says, okay, do you want one sentiment or many more? Then, here's the interesting part, it's passed to the LLM I have recently configured, and there's then some output. Okay, let's try this. It's click and be happy. It's very, very easy because, okay, little problem, if you use LangChain and try to use it, there's OpenAI, okay, cool. How to use an API, you need a framework to do it a little bit easier. If you're trying to implement this with LangChain, no problem, but remember, if it becomes a little bit more complex, I want this, then that, then you're confronted with, programmatically, you have to solve this problem with a graph or something like that. LangChain has another project that's called LangGraph, and LangGraph is also able to create such things, and to implement this simple task we have here, you need at least this type of Python code. It's not so convenient, I want to try it out. It's possible, but it's time consuming. With Diffie, I can select these nodes. This won't work at the moment because we don't have GPT-3.5 configured. The only model I have is, I think, this one for Mini. That's great. Now you can set up all your AI-specific parameters. Like, I don't know, I want TYPO3 a little bit lower. I want to influence how the AI is predicting the next word. It's an interesting algorithm behind, but the lower you set and the temperature, the less creative the model becomes. Very good for repetitive tasks that need to be a little bit more deterministic. Like, repeat exactly the sentence from this document. Then it's not the best way to choose high temperature and high TYPO3, because you want the model not to be creative, you want it to use exactly this information. It's a very good question, but not explained easily. TYPO3 and temperature are two parameters that determine which word is selected for the next prediction. With both parameters, you can modify this. It's too technical now to explain how this works. We can do this on coffee break.
So basically, you can configure how deterministic the AI is going to behave. Like in the extreme cases with temperature 0, it's going to deterministically reproduce the same output again and again and again. And with temperature 1, it's going to be complete and utter randomness. So probably the optimal choice is somewhere in between.
And
guessing from the help icons next to the parameters, there's some explanation what the parameter does.
My advice to you is don't change these parameters. Defaults are very good. Simply don't change it if you don't know. If you don't have a problem that you want to solve with this don't do it. That's great that it is here.
Don't change them if you don't know what you're doing. Like me.
The great thing is, and now comes the full power of Diffie. We're in workflow. Our goal is to make a simple API that does some AI stuff. And there's a JSON schema I could put in here. And JSON is the standard tooling mechanism to say, I want this output format. And it's not so easy with an AI to say it's word prediction. Output JSON is a very complex task. It's not so easy. In OpenAI, at least, and some others too, have implemented the possibility to give them a JSON schema, and the AI tries to match exactly the schema. Now here's the part where Diffie is really, really nice. You can see this here in a moment. Think of it as an external server that's producing words. Okay, cool. There is no deterministic behavior for an AI. There is no absolute guarantee that you get a JSON string back. Might work, they say yes, but it's arbitrary user content. So you cannot rely from a software development statement, you cannot rely and trust on this input.
And even if it decides to output JSON, sometimes it will do something like here is your desired output in JSON format. Yeah. Colon, line break, and then a bunch of JSON, and you expect it to be only JSON. You throw that all into your JSON parser, and you have a syntax error, and you don't know why.
And this is where Diffie comes in. It uses many things from LangChain. It's nice. You can put in a JSON schema, for example. There are more techniques to do this. And the problem is, if the output is not JSON, what are you going to do? Now, welcome to AI or software development. If the output is not JSON, then we have to build a loop, and we try and say, hello LLM, this was not JSON. Here is the error message from parsing. This is not valid JSON. Please correct your error.
This is also why you have all that fancy prompt engineering stuff in the back. If you format the output as JSON, if you return any other text than JSON, you will have failed, which sounds very dramatic, but apparently the model needs that kind of instruction.
This template comes from GPT-3.5, so the GPT-4o models are way much better than this, so you don't need to hassle that much here with output JSON. It's better at the moment, but this template doesn't matter. If I say I want JSON and I don't get JSON back, then I have to do is retry, and you have to you're sending your whole context to the AI from the beginning of your conversation to the end. That's all given to the AI. Now the problem is, if you have an error, you have to modify your history. You have to say, okay, you wanted to do this, there is an error message, retry, and if you're a little bit smart, then it would be nice that your error messages, after you have valid JSON, are deleted from your history for further processing. You don't do this in an hour if you don't have it before. And there comes in Diffie and says, retry on failure. Thank you. Yeah, simply do this task for me. Ask the LLM 20 times to produce a valid JSON, and don't bother me with, oh, there's an error, parsing error, this is not JSON, why are you so rude to me? No. Thank you, Diffie. This is so great. Oh, here comes the next error handling. It's using an AI is great when you use ChatGPT, but doing it automatically to do a task automated it's not nice. This is nice. So in the end, you can configure all these things. We don't need to do this at this moment, and we see the next node is end. Super easy example. What I can do now is I can simply try it. There are many ways to test the LLM and what we are doing, and I say, I don't know, that Camp Venlo is great. So it's a sentiment analysis, so we want something to do, and it starts and it gives me my desired output as JSON. Wow, so easy. Try to do this with LangChain or try to do this on your own against OpenAI. I mean, you know how much time this saves to you. It uses LangChain underneath, so nothing special. Great. Now we have a workflow. And what is interesting about a workflow? We need to publish it. Okay, it's very easy. Then it gets published, I don't know, somewhere on this Diffie server. And then there is, I don't know where it exactly was. We created this sentiment, and we can use Open Explore. Yeah, there it is. Diffie also gives you a direct API endpoint for your workflows. So you have an API, cool. Now, where's the AI deployed, whatever? It's there. You only need your workflow ID. You can set up, where is it? If you go into there, you can make some API access keys to your API, and you're done. This workflow, just by clicking together, that Camp Venlo has great food. Multi-sentiment, yes or no, it doesn't matter. You can use this directly as an API result in your whatever task. Great. That's really, really neat.
Which is maybe also important to note is that you have multiple ways to integrate these apps, as Diffie calls it, into your own project. You can use the API, but you can also, for example, if you have some app that actually uses a chat interface, you can also integrate it directly, like as an iframe or a JavaScript snippet into your site, which is fine and works quickly and easily. I don't really know yet how Diffie handles things like user authentication and rate limiting under the hood, which is something that we probably would need to worry about, which is something that you can solve by just consuming the API and putting your own app in front of it.
And now
Ben? Sorry, question from it.
So I'm really intrigued from a community management perspective. I know, so this is specifically related to the sentiment analysis. I remember that we discussed like maybe 10 years ago doing sentiment analysis.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you run this just on a sentence.
Yeah.
Can we integrate this into a forum to analyze? Yeah, that would be awesome.
It's an API endpoint. You can, whatever you have, call the API endpoint you're happy.
So how does that actually work when you have a tool like Discourse?
Discourse, but
yeah, that's just the forum software. Discourse.
Maybe we can discuss this later.
Yeah,
because it's very specific.
We can show a few other things that you can use in workflows like these.
Yeah.
For example, you can also do HTTP requests and query external data. So you could, in theory, also build an entire crawler as a Diffie workflow, and just if you have an API that you want to consume, you can just scrape your entire data set, and I think there's also a loop operator somewhere.
Yeah.
Of course, if you use models like OpenAI or AWS Bedrock or whatever, your credit card's going to glow, but well.
Don't want that.
No, actually, probably not, because if it's just sentiment analysis, I think output tokens are like an order of magnitude more expensive, at least I think on AWS.
Output tokens are way much expensive.
Yeah. So if you just want your model to say, hey, positive or negative, that's probably going to be.
Yeah. I will show another interesting example in a second.
Yeah. Okay.
The real benefit of Diffie is also you don't have to hassle with this AI stuff and OpenAI or whatever API. It's not so nice. It's nice to use, but it's time consuming. There are these blocks and tools you can connect. You can create a tool. We are here in the workflow tool. We can create tools and use it in other tools in Diffie itself. And as you can see, there are a bunch of things that are pre-implemented. You can connect everything you want there, and you can do for me, the most important one is an HTTP request. So if you have something, you want to implement another result from an API, there is your connector, simply connect it, pass it maybe to the other envelope. There is no need to use an AI at this moment. You can also use it just to connect API calls with HTTP requests. You don't need to use AI for this, just something.
Yeah, but then in that case, you'd probably be easier off with using tools like, I don't know who visited Roland's talk from before the break, using make.com or N8N or whatever.
Okay. Okay, cool. Templates. Let's do something else. I said there's knowledge, and we can.
I was going to ask about the knowledge.
Yeah. The knowledge tab is quite interesting. If you have ChatGPT, you can say, here are my documents. Question is documents. How this works in the background is it's called RAG, a retrieval augmented generation. And this is where the vector database comes in. This is just, I found this on Medium somewhere. an LLM does not know your data. If you want it to know your data, you have to give it the data, but it cannot process the data. So you need to give your input, your text, for example, and split it into feasible chunks, I would say, and they need a so-called embedding. This embedding is a vector, and this vector can be used by AI to identify which part of the document is relevant to the user's input. So
I think maybe if I can build on that to add a bit more context, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like you could use your entire document base to basically train your own model from scratch, or to fine tune an existing model, which is very expensive, and you need very many GPUs for that. And I think RAG is basically a more efficient way to get your own knowledge into systems like that, because it works like providing a search index over your documents, over your knowledge, and then you query that knowledge base, for example, using, in the easiest case, just like simple full text search, like Solr or Elasticsearch do, or using embeddings on a vector database, and then you get search results that are relevant for whichever the LLM needs to know, and then you throw that into the context window for the LLM, and then you basically tell the LLM everything it needs to know to generate an answer from that. So you don't need to have that information in the language model itself. Correct?
That's right. And the great thing is,
elaborate on that? Because there's other RAG architectures that use the LLM to generate the query to like a knowledge base or a knowledge graph or a corpus of documents. And so that's another, that's just sort of an add-on, just like the yes and of what you were just saying. Yeah.
So this is the principle. There's a vector database search index, and this gets passed to the LLM. The great thing with Diffie is we can see what it's doing, or we can test it. That's really, really great. Let's say we have this knowledge tab. Let's create knowledge. It's not so well designed here. Okay, as you can see, you can choose which data you want to connect, and there are so many adapters for this. This is awesome. And only because I was searching for PDF and I didn't find anything. So there's an analysis 1 script for mathematics, and something very boring, a German table of how long things are running in finance. Very, very, very boring. Doesn't matter.
Just stuff that you had lying around in your downloads folder, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
As said before, these documents get split into parts. This delimiter changes, it doesn't matter. It will help you. Simply click Save and Process. You can modify anything. Can say I want full context search, I want vector search. It depends on your problem. And we need an embedding model here. That's why we have an API key. Okay, cool. Let's do it. Now it's creating embedding. So the document gets splitted, vector is created, is saved, done. And then we can access those chunks. We will see that in a moment when it's done. And we can use this data in a workflow.
And because I'm just seeing the button right now, we're using the UI right now to dump documents into it, but you can also use the API to just automate that as well.
Creating workflows is click and collect, yes, but in the end you get a YAML file and you can import it. Very easy. Is it done? Probably it's done.
Yeah, it's still indexing.
Then we need to wait. Okay. Let's start creating a workflow with this, because this is interesting. I have some company data that should not be shared in the engine. So I have a local LLM, suppose I have. And then I can say, Diffie, here is your database with data. That is private, whatever, no problem. No OpenAI or different servers involved. Now let's create a chatbot. Create from blank. We want a simple chatbot, not a workflow. In this moment, it needs some name. Okay, cool, create. And it can be so easy, because here we can make instructions. It's a system prompt. Documents are German, I think, hence it'd be helpful. Precise. Well, I can spell. Sorry. Only answer. Where data. here's my knowledge database. It's called PDF. You can rename it. Now what is happening is when you're sending a request to the AI server, it looks up in your context, in your knowledge database, which chunks are relevant, and they are then included in the prompt to generate better outcomes or results. Is it done yet?
Yeah.
Yay, available. Okay, available. Let's see what it's doing before we go into the chatbot. It's about analysis 1, so let's see. Huh? It's difficult to type. Okay, I have one PDF file. It's an analysis 1 script, and you can see there is part about Cauchy series, and this context would be used. This part of the document would be used to create my answer in the next step. So I can see, is my chunking correct? Is it too big? Is it too small? These are all things you have to deal with if you're trying to build a RAG system. Very time consuming. Here I can see, okay, the chunks seem to be big enough. I'm fine with this. I can query the vector database. And now I have back to the other tab, I have my chat workflow. Very, very easy. Use this context and I can say, no, let's publish it, doesn't matter, and open it somewhere. I don't always forget where the buttons run the app. Okay, start chat. Sorry, this is drumming now. Yes, I studied mathematics. So there are two series and tell me a solar panel, how long do I have to put it in? I don't know what the word is.
Depreciation.
For an LLM, this is quite difficult because those things are not connected, and this will mess up your creation. But now,
Quick question for me: did you test this before, or is this? Are you going completely blind into this?
This is a test. What's happening now is it's looking up in the documents in the vector database, and at least, okay, it says I don't know your second request. I don't know, but Cauchy folder is something mathematical, and it's from this document. Cool. Have you got a bunch of documents which you want to search quickly in a chat way? This is your way to go. Simply put in all your stuff into knowledge, and ask some stuff about it.
And you can also, if you go back to the knowledge tab.
Right.
Okay.
It's an AI. Don't be nice. So,
And also disregard basic grammar.
yeah. Okay. So riches are 4 years. This comes all from my data. So the LLM also does not try to hallucinate, not that much, because I am giving information. So easy. And the great thing is, I will come to you in a second.
And when the machines finally take over, they will remember how you treated them.
I know my times end sometimes. You can also you don't have to upload files. You can also connect databases. Very neat, and if you so much you can I could show you, but try it on your own.
And you can export this as an app then or something?
You can, if you create a workflow, for example, you have an API endpoint for your workflow. We could do this as a workflow, and export. You mean like for deployment, or
Somebody else can use it.
Yeah, or you integrate them.
Yeah.
So how would you do that?
You can. I don't know, sentiment analysis, for example, there's export DSL, I don't know why it's called DSL. And you get such a file, and this YAML file defines this workflow. You can give it somebody else, say, hey, here's my workflow, or whatever. That's great. They have to.
What he asks is if you want to have an app.
For the end user. Yeah, for the end user.
Okay.
So you give it to my colleague.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use.
There's Explore. Diffie has a user management, so I am admin now, so I can complicated things, but Diffie comes with this Explorer thing, and there is this, you can use this as a user. You only have to
But it's running on your machine.
deploy it on the server.
Okay, so
It's just 10 Docker containers. No, I just said it's not trivial, but well, yeah.
It's about it's about building web apps. You have to deploy it somewhere. Then other users can use it.
But you have to wait. Restructure that. If you publish these apps, they are running on a Diffie server.
Yeah.
So you always have to run the Diffie server to access your apps. Yeah.
If you want to point your user directly to your Diffie web app, which is the easiest way, but you can, of course, also have the Diffie server firewalled and have your own front end access the API that the workflow publishes. That also works for chat workflows, which is a bit more difficult to implement because you have this, you probably saw this chunk response streaming that is something that you have to consider if you're putting your own app in front of it. If you want to pay attention to also stream these individual syllables that come as responses from the model, if you have your own API in front of it, you're going to need to pay attention to output buffering and HTTP response streaming, and it's a bit of a hassle, but it works. We've already done it in projects successfully. So those are basically the two methods that you have to make those apps accessible for your users. Either embed them directly. You can also click on publish if you like.
Oh, this one. This won't work. Wait, give me a second. Okay, publish.
You click on publish, and then you have embed into site. You can embed it as a simple iframe, which is like very basic. Or if it's a chat window, you can have this overlay action button that you have in the bottom right corner that you see I think on quite a lot of sites. And if you don't want that, use the API, build your own front end.
Diffie is about building this workflow and make it easy to use AI with all this rag stuff and click and collect. This is the goal of Diffie, not deploying a full software solution for it. You need to do this on your own. There is a way to implement Diffie. Yes, via the Diffie server, you have to deploy it, yes, but you don't have to hassle with this AI stuff. That's really, really great. And if you create a workflow, you can use it as an API call. I want to show you one more thing. If I don't remember where it was, but these things can become very, very complicated. What's an SAS startup monitor? I have absolutely no idea. I don't know. That's not interesting. I'm searching for workflow, create new from template.
I also like, now we're deep into prompt engineering when we're seeing these prompts like, you are a truly visionary startup mentor. Okay.
That's a little bit interesting. As you can see, Diffie, these blocks are the whole power of Diffie. You can connect everything you want. You can build really complicated things. You can extract parameters which are defined in the workflow before. You can reuse them later. For example, extract information from my knowledge database. Yes, then do this. Send this information to this API with this response. Do that. If not, then this. We try on error. You can build this whole chain, very complicated tasks with Diffie. And so easy at this point. Code generation, and at some point you can insert Python code if you need something very specific. I need something I cannot find. Okay, insert your Python code here, and it executes this Python code. For example, here there's this looks like sleep 13. Who has done this? Okay. It's an URL regex, so.
It's when you want to make the illusion that there's an AI at work, and in reality it's just a regex. Yeah. But it needs to look like an AI, so it has to be slow.
Also very neat is Diffie comes. What's also very nice is Diffie comes with monitoring for workflows. It's also nice usage statistics and such things. It's very, very neat.
And that also works when you use it via the API endpoint.
Yes.
This one time, yes. So here's click your AI API and you're good to go. That's good. And that's very good. Or you can use chatbot. I think chatbots are very boring.
Can an access such a matrix also via an API?
Those data?
Yes.
I don't know, but I'm very convinced that it should be accessible. He has a very well-documented API documentation.
Yeah. I think I saw some external tools that you can integrate that are specialized for AI ops monitoring. I don't know if there's just like metrics that you can scrape for Prometheus or something like that. I'm not really sure.
No, this was. The time is almost up.
Oh yeah.
I want to give you a little bit of motivation to use Diffie, but also a warning. Diffie is under heavy development, and
I think the version number is still 0 point something.
And I think, I don't know where this issue is. You have one problem with Diffie. It's super easy to build these things and deploy, but deployment is not the nicest way to do. As I said, you can export your workflows or chatbots as a YAML file, and you can import this YAML file in Diffie. Yeah. But it's not infrastructure as code at the moment. So you have to set up Diffie, you have to log in, you have to set the API key, import the file. It's not programmable actual.
This is the ugly part right now. Yeah. What we're doing right now is we have a development environment where you configure that workflow. Then you export that YAML file, dump that into Git, and to deploy it, you have to download that file from Git and upload it into the production environment via the UI, which is frankly garbage. And you have version control for that YAML file, but it's like, even for a simple workflow, it's like thousands of lines of YAML, which you do not want to. There's no point in doing a merge request for that one because, yeah, well. Yeah.
And this is a not so fun part of Diffie deployment. Because if you set up this workflow, okay, you can say, okay, I need OpenAI. Okay, I have Claude. No, use OpenAI, nice, but if it doesn't work very good, you have to go into the workflow and change the model there. This is not so nice. For example, in the sentiment analysis, I said there it's GPT-4. If you want to change it, you have to go into this workflow and modify the used model there. That's not programmatically easy like YAML whatever file where it says here's GPT-4, use it. No, this is not. It's not infrastructure as code yet. 76,000 GitHub stars. I know there is an issue on GitHub with this topic. How can we use it as infrastructure as code for better deployment? They're working on it, I guess. Start using Diffie. Build your own chatbots against your own data, build your APIs, connect everything you want, and be happy. You will never need to use the ChatGPT anymore in a sense of data you don't want to share, for example. This is Diffie. And back to your question, sentiment analysis. This is too expensive for sentiment analysis. Yeah. Too expensive for sentiment analysis?
Yeah.
Exactly what's your question?
So, when you say expensive, you're running it locally, right?
Yeah.
So,
but you're doing
why is it
OpenAI.
Why is it expensive?
OpenAI. It's very expensive to do sentiment analysis with a whole transformer LLM network.
Yeah. But I guess there's other ways to do sentiment analysis. I guess with other LLM or.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are, but this is another problem.
Like I think doing sentiment analysis with an LLM is like, I don't know the English idiom for it, but in German you might say mit Kanonen auf Spatzen schießen.
Yeah, it's just that you use that example that I'm thinking of. Yeah. That's typically a use case for analyzing what's the sentiment on the forum. Yeah. Would you use other tools then?
To be honest, no. If you don't do this a million times a day, it's not so important. Oh, that's great here. Balanced. It changes the parameters. So I said, don't change the parameters. Change it, but use this button.
Use the presets.
As you can see, it says precise, and you see top P and temperature goes down. Precise means more deterministic, and on the other hand, creative is higher values. So, okay, play with them. If you really want to have fun, side note, try, is it possible? No, it's not possible. You need to do this in OpenAI and platform. Change temperature to 2. Yeah, try it. And set top P to 1.5. It's only garbage. So interesting. These parameters are so distinctive for the LLM. If you make them too big, the LLM is not able to produce text anymore. It's very interesting. Try it out. Temperature 2 is dead. This is why I cannot say it here. Okay.
Yeah, just like with humans. Like after pure creativity, there's just madness.
So like a few LSD trip.
Yeah.
Okay, who's going to use TYPO3 tomorrow on the next day?
On a train.
2,
Yeah. What we haven't talked about yet is how to deploy it actually in production, which is challenging. We're currently running it on Kubernetes, but we were looking for a Helm chart. There isn't one. Or more precisely, there are third-party Helm charts which are of questionable correctness and maybe more or less up to date. So that is something that you'd probably need to investigate further if you're interested in actually running tools like Diffie in production. You can of course also use just a root server and run those Docker containers. But there are quite a few different databases in there. You need to know about how to operate those. You do need to know how to do backup and recovery if you're not having it all in Git. So those are all operational challenges that you also need to consider, obviously.
You have to do this with every project. So
yeah.
For software developers or software engineers, Daily bread. No, that's not English version.
Yeah.
Brot on English.
Daily business.
Okay. Do you have questions? I'm inspired. Okay. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you.
set here?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Perfect, can you hear me? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I think a few minutes.
Yeah, wait. I'm just making a little bit of checks. I will put it here. Ja, Suppenkoma und vor allem, hier ist auch so frisch geworden hier in dem Raum. Ich musste gerade noch die Jacke, du hast die Jacke noch an, ne?
Wolltest du meine Jacke noch?
Nee, ich habe meine Jacke dabei, aber ich stelle mich jetzt hier nicht mit der Jacke hin. Da ist noch der falsche Arbeitstitel drauf. Die habe ich aber noch gefunden vom Camp. So, ich gucke mal, ob da jemand kommen will. Also ich würde sagen, ich starte. So I'm going to start. No huge crowd is waiting outside anymore. So welcome very much to my talk. We're talking about today the slowly filling. Genau, we're talking about GitLab DevOps Suite's integration in the mStudio of Midwald. May one question before. Do everyone of you guys knows what the mStudio is?
I saw the link that never worked.
Okay.
Should I tell it?
For sure, yeah, please. We are on the stream, so I have the microphone. So if you want to tell it, you have to come really close to me. I also brushed my teeth this morning, so you can hear, and you have to talk here so the stream can also hear what you are telling them. So, mStudio is actually an application framework developed by Midwald, the hosting company, and this is on top of the new cloud hosting infrastructure, where you can manage all your operations, so your projects and your servers and everything. And Midwald is going to open the mStudio. This is called Marketplace for third-party developers to bring in productivity applications specialized on digital solution provider and agencies. And for this, in a cooperation, we developed together, or we developed one extension for this marketplace. And this extension is a productivity extension which will help you to set up your projects faster, more secure, and really easy. And this is the one I'm going to show you today. Come in. Okay, the room is, some guests are still coming in. And maybe the first thing I want to show you is that, one more question. So this is actually, who of you have experience already with professional deployment processes, pipelining? Amazing. And the idea behind this is to help people who already have professional processes to bring their projects faster, to run or faster to start faster with a project, and it will also help people who have not so much clue about it yet to get some entry into this kind of professional software development. But let's go in. Password. Here. Yeah, it's a presentation mode. It's hello, hello, 1, 2, 3. This is the password, but my only for presentation, so you cannot use it. Okay. This is the mStudio platform. We have an organization here.
Maybe you switch to English.
And
deeper 100,000 characters free per month.
I think it will come. They're doing a lot of amazing stuff, and I think English version will also come. And this part here is the extension. I'm going to show you what will happen. We go into this extension, and if you say now, okay, I need a new project. Your customer comes in, I have a new idea, something else. I need a new project. And what did you do in the past? You had to install a staging system. You have to install a production system. You have somehow a GitLab, yeah, where you have to set up your project. And then also you set up all, you have to build some keys for deployment and everything. So it is more or less half day of work, maybe 1 day of work. Mostly you need somehow a developer who has a little bit of clue how to set it all up. In this case, it's really easy. Yeah? You just say, create a new project. Venlo 2, we are supporting for the moment TYPO3 12. We're going to support new systems nearby, and later on I will also give you some hints, yeah, where we will go with this one. I can already type in a username and a password, but I'm lazy, I will do it. System should create it for me. I say I need 2 projects. It will be installed on the server Wurstplatte. And of course, because I also want to have it live in my GitLab, I need to tell the system where my GitLab is living. This is my GitLab URL. And as well, for security reason, I need my access token. Actually, I do not know which scopes I need, so I just, no, we do not need all scopes, but for whatever reason, before, do not want to produce here. So, here it is. Copy, token, create project. Okay, now I triggered this process. It hopefully takes now a few minutes, then it will be done, but I'm already prepared, so I just did it 1 hour ago with this Venlo project. So what will happen if this project is ready? First of all, you see we have a staging project and a production project. In the background, this system created in the server here it is. The project Venlo production and the project Venlo staging. It created in the background a database. It creates a testing URL. You see here now the new project is already flying in. It creates the URLs, the database, and it creates, on the other hand, the project in the GitLab. I will show you. This is on this side. Here it is. This is a TYPO3 standard GitLab package, what we are using at this moment. In the background, it created the pipelines. These are these ones, which builds the assets, which makes some tests, runs a PHP fixer, the PHP stan, and deploy it to the former created applications or servers. One question?
Has the staging environment then the data from the live environment?
The question was if the staging environment has the data from the live environment. This process is not implemented because our task, what we're here solving, is really to initially create projects. After this, it is handed over to you again. We will also forget, for example, your access token, because then we do not want to play in your GitLab anymore. It's really a tool to enable you to bring up projects much faster and on a standardized way, and also helping people who are not so familiar with this kind of stuff yet to get the easy step into professional deployment processes at this time. So what happened as well, we also uploaded the TYPO3 standard package. It looks like this. It's ready to go. So the system is ready to go on staging. The system is ready to go on production. And the really nice thing is, because it's already in project living in the GitLab, supported also with DDEV, you also have from the beginning on a full-blown local development setup. This means I can check out this project, which I already did. Where's my PHP storm? Here it is. And we're skipping something. If everything works now it's fine, I can make a... okay. If I also start my Docker, this we know, it's all live. I can start directly here my local development system. Okay, I didn't do it, I didn't prepare it, so it takes now a little bit of time. It pulls now all the Docker container and I can directly start to develop local. What I actually did, and this is what I can show here at this case, if I want to make one change, I made already one commit here, hello Venlo, I can just do it and it's already running. So it means 2 minutes, you have a ready to develop set up project. And even a project manager can do it. It doesn't need to know anything about this stuff anymore. So it can be just set up and then you talk to your developers, say here it is. The idea behind is also to help to standardize some stuff in these pipelines, because I see a widely spread understanding how the pipelines are designed and so on. So one goal is also to give some standard packages. We are also talking to other system providers like Lars from the Joomla Association, and he is interesting also to support then other systems out of TYPO3. And one of our amazing things what we're doing is we will also open it for you. So if you're already highly experienced in this kind of pipelines, you're also able to develop your own templates. If you have, for example, special front-end test scenarios, you can just say, here is my ready-to-take template, and then you will just say, I want to use this template, and then we will set up your full project with your individual template. This is where we go. If you like, I can also show you, let's see if we are lucky.
So do you have experience so far to use this in existing projects?
So meanwhile we already set up some projects with this system, so we do have the experience, and the best part of it is also it is from day one production ready, because we set up your project, it's perfectly set up, and then we are out. So therefore, you can use it directly day one, with zero trust, because you only have to trust us in the first moment, in the first while, that we set it up for you correctly, and after this, it is just working. So we are out, because then the GitLab will talk directly to the mStudio via this deployment processes, and you're also able to maybe implement some own stuff, what you like to implement.
The question is, now you have existing projects and you want this because you are not starting from a new project.
Okay.
When I have this page, if I can say, okay, I add this to my existing project and I can transfer it to Bitwald or whatever, but I want a pipeline on an existing project.
Okay, the question is if you already have an existing project, you are not running pipelines yet, and you want to use pipelines in it. This is the one we do not support yet, because this is much more complicated, because the point is you need to have somehow a knowledge what is happening in this kind of project. We are thinking about solution how to do it, because there are also some upgrade topics coming up where you may have to work also on already in-wild project. In the moment, this project is to really set up a project from scratch. And yeah, if you have an existing project, of course, you can set up a project from scratch and just copy the ideas from this one in the existing project. Genau. So, and in the meanwhile, you see Venlo 2 is there. It took only a few minutes. Yeah, and here's our staging system. Here's our production system. And if we are lucky, we will also find the Venlo 2 in our GitLab, and here's our GitLab project with all running pipelines in place. Here we go.
Can you please show the image of your profile a bit larger? Is it real?
Yeah, yeah. But this is my younger self. I think it's 10 or 20 years old. But it's real.
Okay. Wow.
Ah, young and crispy still. Young and crispy at this time. Yeah. Okay. What we, yeah?
What happens if you do merge on the master branch or main branch? Will it be automatically deployed?
If you merge into the main branch, we will run the deployment pipe, also the complete pipeline, and we will deploy it automatically on the staging system. And if you want to roll it out on production, you have to just click the manual task to roll it out to production. Also we can also do it now. If you like, I have a Venlo 2 is there open. So if we go now, also Venlo 2, use it now Venlo 1 because it's already here checked out. If I go here in the main template, so hello Venlo, all is nice like this. So git add, git commit, git push. A parameter is missing, git push, and in the moment I am going to. Bitte? Yeah. I'm on main. I'm directly main. I didn't branch. Okay, I could have. You're right. Okay, I'm so sorry. First, of course, you have to make a feature or development branch, and then. We are not talking about branching and branching concepts here. We're talking about setting up projects. Yeah. So. And I directly push it in this case on main, and then of course it triggers the well-known pipelines. Here we go, and in the moment it's deployed to staging. This will be the last step. We should also see it then in the TYPO3.
To get it into production, this is the last step of the pipeline?
No, this is staging. As I know it well, we have. I actually do not know how we can bring it to production. Here we go. Okay, because we're using the TYPO3 standard template, completely right. You make a tag, and with a tag you make a version number, and this one will trigger the deployment to production. We do have a different deploying policy in our company, but in this case, yeah, with a tag it will go to production. So, let's see. Here we go.
Just a short question between who's using MidLife? Also the new control panel, mStudio. So the idea behind that was that we open our mStudio with an API, so anyone
Okay, ist noch nicht durch.
Can extend the mStudio with its own extensions. So, and the need from Timo was that he has to minimize the time to kick off a new project. So he said, I want to build such a kick-off GitLab. And the possibility is also that you build it on your own for your GitHub or Bitbucket or whatever you can extend. You can build your own extension for on projects. Even if it's run well, you can sell it also.
So I'm wondering now why it's not staging it, but maybe or caching it. Huh? Is it there? No, this was the one what I did 1 hour before, and I'm missing now where's the thing that I just changed. But it could be also, this type of. Okay, let's see one more thing, just to show you. We're talking about the usernames and everything where I was lazy to do. Of course, we have here our admin, and because I didn't put any username in before, here it generates already a password for me, and this is my backend login. So I also do not have to take care for this, or if I want to type in my password, then I can also give a password. In this case, we just say, give me a password, you can log in, and then you can configure it as you like. And as well, we also have a process. If you check it locally out, the setup will be run completely for you locally, and we also have a process to directly pull the database and the files from the TYPO3 system, so you have locally the same state to develop your application. In this case, TYPO3, but this extension is open for all other software if someone implements a template for it. So let's see if it's a caching thing, or it could also be that I just put it in a wrong. Yeah, it was TYPO3 cache, we know, here we go. And so, this is the point. And I think I never have set up a project as fast as I just did it. We're using the TYPO3 standard template. So we're working on it. So we do have, therefore we want to bring in also a little bit of knowledge, also experience we did made already in our company processes, like clearing the cache, doing deployment, so that you do not have to do it manually in the system, and some other stuff which makes it more reasonable to use in this case. What I can show you as well, if you like, I can also show you a little bit the source code if you're interested in how we're doing it. I do not know, is someone interested in this kind of stuff? Sneak, no, okay.
What is it about bringing live when you have changes on database migrations and these things?
The point is, as I told you, Okay, I will repeat the question. So what is the task? Changing databases or migrating databases, these are the questions you asked me. The point is what we in the moment are supporting. This is the first step to really set up projects fast from the step. And this is also something which will be then, if we consider upgrade parsers and code, then we will also think about migration processes, or maybe also a process where you can say, we also have one idea in behind that we are thinking about that we have some process that you can open a feature branch in your GitLab. And by opening this feature branch, it will automatically install a feature staging system in the mStudio, and will copy the data from production. So you have directly not only one staging, so you have for every feature staging, so that the customer is able to approve feature by feature. This is especially handy if you have more features developed at the same time, at the meantime, because sometimes you start with feature A, then you start with feature B, Yeah, and then have feature C, and then the customer say, okay, now we will drop feature B, but A should now go production, but B, what we already have on station, shouldn't be to production, and then you have a mess, and therefore the idea is also to bring in this kind of productivity software into this kind of extension, but this is the outlook for this extension. First one, to have a stable install step, and for my thing is also to open it so that that other system can also be installed, that you can use your version, what you want to install, and also the option that you can put in your own templates if you say, I have special needs in my projects, or I have at least other, especially front end. Yeah? We're using here a read package to build your front end, but someone else is using maybe other technology to build the front end, so therefore we are then open that you can just put in the techniques what you need for your project at this time.
I think since you asked about database migration, I think what's probably going to happen is that deployer is probably going to run a database compare on each deployment, and then it's going to just try its best.
Yeah, also if you of course, if you make your regular update, your patching your system and so on, of course all the standard features yes, from TYPO3 are triggered, like database compare and something else, and the migration packages could also be triggered at this point. This one is already working out of the box, but this is also hard dependent on the system. Because we are happy or we are lucky with TYPO3, we do have this kind of stuff, but there are also other systems out in the world. You have to build something on your own for this topic, database migration. Go ahead.
I have two questions. First is only available for GitLab, or is it also for GitHub in some way usable?
First,
the second one, do you have some entry in your blog about this whole stuff?
Also first question is if it's available for GitHub or also also for GitHub. It's in the moment available for GitLab. Yeah, depending of course of the market demands. If a lot of people say we are using GitHub and we also need it for GitHub, we could also implement these processes to use GitHub. But we decided on GitLab because the minority of the people using GitLab in their development environment. And the second thing is we are planning to release this one by end of the month. And then also, of course, some marketing blog posts and so will be created. I think it will also be done in cooperation with Midwald, and the feature that you can ship your own GitLab templates we are planning to release by end of this quarter.
Regarding GitLab versus GitHub, I think we actually conducted a customer survey a while back, which VCS platforms customers were using, and it was like, I think it was like 60% GitLab, 39% GitHub, and like there's always that one guy who's using Bitbucket.
Okay. Genau. So this one will be released by end of the month. So the first thing is, if you do not have an access yet to the mStudio, just do it. You just type in your email address and open an mStudio account. This is also already for free, of course. Then you also need the server. This one you have to book, but there are small packages in place you can play around with. And by end of the month, we are releasing the extension, so you can take this extension and use it for your own projects and make your first starts with this. Disclaimer, the marketplace as well as this extension are in a late beta release candidate state. This is also, we are really in a top edge technology, and therefore we are also really highly interesting also for your feedback. So also use it, and give us feedback to say what is working good, what is working not so well, if you have some special feature ideas or feature requests, so we can assume where we want to go with it in the near future. And if you want to supply a package for other system, Shopware, maybe Magento, whatever, Laravel, or Symfony, also feel free to contact us, me personally from Z3 or Mitwald, no problem. Yeah, if you say I want to become, for example, a maintainer for a shopware package, yeah, we just put it in, or if you have special ideas how to implement testing cases, yeah, also feel free to contact us. Yeah. Feel free to contact us. Yeah, we are also open to implement other special.
Funny how like just we would pretend to just ignore it.
Yeah, also open. Yeah, and then of course we are by end of the quarter, at the end of March 2025, we open it for you. So then you can, in the dialogue, you can also just. You will also then just put in some GitLab repo, and then this setup will be built on the template what you have in your GitLab repo. Yeah, what else to tell?
Any further questions to mStudio, Marketplace, GitLab extension?
Maybe you can show the mStudio other features or something like this.
Yeah, we can. Of course, this is then yeah not my main topic because I'm not a guy of GitLab, but I can show you what we're doing with this one for the mStudio. Sorry, but maybe I want to only give you a small hint, not too much code. Ist das jetzt, nee, das ist das falsche Ding.
So in general, the mStudio is an easy way to use complex infrastructure. So we have Docker, Harmony, we have Kubernetes, and the mStudio is a graphical user interface.
Okay.
So you can easily launch a new server with database servers, with containers, and so on. And the next step was, because of the first step, when you click on create new app, it was one container. Martin, please correct me. It was one installation, and with the GitLab extension, we want to make it very easy to start a complete deployment process, but without any code experimentation on the CLI. So you can save time.
Yeah.
The mStudio comes with a complete API, so everything you wish to do, you could easily build your own extension for the mStudio, maybe some export. We have one in the room who wants to build some other extension I've heard about.
Genau. This is mStudio. Mike just talked about, yeah, and one of the amazing things is what she actually said, and which also helps us, or actually enabled us to build this kind of extension, is that it's fully API driven. It's API first. So the front end talks in the background with the API, and this API you can also use as a programmer. So everything what you can do here, yeah, you can also do via API. This is first of all what enables us to do this kind of stuff. And there are some quite interesting concepts in. Yeah, so if you, for example, have a customer and the customer say, okay, I want to be, my project should be hosted here, but I may want to have my contract relationship directly with the hoster, with Mitwald, then he can also just at the organization book the server on its own, just give you the right on the server. You can manage everything. It feels like that it is your server, what you booked, but it is on the payroll of the customer, for example. So it's really handy. You have a good right management system, yeah, so modern security thinking from access and access handling and authorization handling is implemented. And the really nice thing is it's just easy to use. Yeah? If you have your projects, it's fast to use, and you have your project, it comes with what you need, your domain handling, your email handling, your database handling. You have Redis handling already for caching. You have modern SSH connections to set up your server. And it's also scalable, so if you start with a project and your memory is leaking or you do not have enough space, you just say, okay, I need 20 gig more space, just book it, takes a few seconds, and then you have 20 gigs more space. And the really, really nice thing is everything is managed by Midwald, so it means that you do not have to take care for the ops. This is also the reason why we are working together with Midwald, also with almost all our production projects, because we are a software developing company. We are not an operation company, and I know I can trust Midwald to hand over my projects to them, because I know there are, I don't know, whatever, but more than 100 people who are taking care every day, that the operations is running, fighting against the hackers and everything. But this is another talk. There are a lot of talks, I think, for Martin and some else from Midwald in the wild on YouTube, where you can see what basic stuff they are doing. And the marketplace, as I told, is halt open for other companies to bring in ideas to extend this mStudio in this case. And this is one I just,
If anyone's interested in the architecture behind the platform, I did a talk on the developer days last year on it. I think you can still find it on YouTube. So
should be, should be. So Martin Helmich, and da is a talk from the developer days in Karlsruhe, where you can see what infrastructure is behind there. And this is what I just wanted to show you, not so much code, but so that you get a hint. These are all tasks which we have to fire in a GitLab to set up a project. And these are all the tasks we have to fire in the mStudio to set up the projects. On this task, if you set up a project manual, you do all this task manual. In the beginning, you think, okay, easy, just making a project, but in the end, all these tasks you're doing, of course, all the tasks, they are subject of error, all the tasks, something can get wrong, and therefore, here it is all working well, nothing can go wrong, and you can save time, and then you can do other stuff, whatever you like. Any more questions? Who want to supply a template for shopware?
Will only be the template open source or the extension?
No, the extension isn't open source. The concept is there's a marketplace concept. The idea is also that there will be some monetization concept behind, which is in the moment, because we are in a first state, it's not clear, but the idea is really this marketplace also enables other developers in future to supply some packages which can also earn their money. And therefore, for this extension, there will be somehow in future business model behind it. But the templates, of course, they are general open, can be used and can be copied and. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. Ready? Have a nice day. See you hopefully soon.
chat about how you get it done. Yeah, I could go on about it forever. If you want to chat about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I always feel the focus on the people.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
that's what you need for. And then the whole AI thing is also very interesting. I now speak about emotional intelligence, how important that is. I use emotional intelligence.
Okay, everyone, we're starting. We're 1 second late. Yeah. Okay. Welcome to this presentation about the interest extension, and it's of course interesting, but basically the interest extension is a CLI, REST, and webhook endpoint for creating, updating, and deleting records in TYPO3. And if you think we're missing the word read here, that's intentional. First, very quickly about me. I'm Mathias Lesniak. I live outside of Oslo. I have a wife and 2 kids, and I have been doing TYPO3 since 2003 when I crashed my first installation. And that's the important learning part, right? We all start there by knowing nothing and doing things wrong. But what you can learn from me is that I went away for 6 months and tried to write my own CMS, which everybody did at that time. And yeah, it didn't work out, so I went back. And that's why I'm here now, and I've grown since then. I've become the TYPO3 project ambassador, right? And you can find me on the elephant place and the Schmetterling place, as they say in Germany. I don't email. Yeah, I still use that platform. So yes, a TYPO3 extension, composer only, just so that you know it. And of course, the question everyone asks is, why is it called that? Well, it's an integration REST API, so inter-REST, right? Ha 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 ha. Yeah. What does it do? Well, as I said at the beginning, it has a CLI, REST, and webhook endpoint or front end or whatever you want to call it to TYPO3's data handler with backend user permissions. So this does not work with the front end, it works with the backend, which means that it basically becomes a TYPO3 user. We implemented this when I built this for a previous employer. We had a lot of data that we needed to import into TYPO3. I mean, yeah, 200,000 records, 1 million records, those kind of things, and all with relations and blah. And just throwing it into TYPO3 worked, but then when support needed to work with an issue in TYPO3, the data isn't correct. What has happened? There wasn't any way of knowing that because the data had just been thrown into the database directly. But by sending it through data handler, it's not performant, but it actually gives you the possibility to do undos and see the history for the record, also when you do record updates. So that's kind of handy for following that. And the really revolutionary thing that it contains is the remote ID mapping. We will talk more about the remote IDs, but it basically means that you can send data in any order to TYPO3. You can use flexible file uploading. You can do data transformations. You can do optimizations, or it has optimizations in it, and it's close to the TYPO3 data handler, which means that it's close to the way that TYPO3 does things. It takes the data and it tries to do things the way that you would do it as an editor in TYPO3 so that it's replicable and follows all of TYPO3's standards. Yes. The next question you ask is remote ID. What is that? That is a way to refer to a record in TYPO3 using an external identifier. So normally, when you do data between, well, let's say the cloud and TYPO3, you send data one way. You say, I want to, give it, I create this data in TYPO3, and TYPO3 responds with, yes, I've created this data, and it's got this unique identifier inside of TYPO3, and the cloud has to hold on to that and know what TYPO3 identifies the record as. And that's really a source of a lot of problems, because if your cloud somehow forgets an ID or thinks that something isn't the same, you have a lot of problems. So the remote ID is basically the way of making it possible to just send the data to TYPO3, and TYPO3 handles all of this. TYPO3 knows if it's new or old or whatever. So you can give any record any remote ID, but usually you use some kind of, thing that you can read, because you can do that. It could be news 123. Maybe you're importing it from another system where 123 is the ID there. Well, the news record in TYPO3 is referenced with what you know in the cloud already, right? You only use what you know in the cloud and you send it to TYPO3, and TYPO3 handles everything with the references. And then when you send that news 123 to TYPO3, TYPO3 knows that this goes into the news table and what ID it is. But you never need to know that outside of TYPO3. I mentioned that you can send content in any order. So the interest extension has both relation tracking and insert deferral, which means that it knows where TYPO3 has relations. It knows every record and where a field is a relation or stuff like that, because it reads the TCA. The TCA, for outsiders, is the array that keeps track of fields and what types they are and what they mean in TYPO3's backend. And if a record is sent to the interest extension and the necessary relations don't exist, then it will defer the insert. So it will keep the data and wait for the complete set to be delivered, or as complete as is possible. Normally, let's say you want to insert a sysfile reference record. This is related to the file abstraction layer. This won't work because you can't create a sysfile reference record without already having a sysfile record. So then that insert of the sysfile reference is just deferred. It's saved. And it's waiting for the sysfile record. And then when you insert the sysfile record, the interest extension will look up any deferred records that depend on this one, and it will insert the sysfile reference. That means that you can bring in, data in any order. You don't have to do lots of data processing on the other side. You just push it, and the interest extension handles it. And the cool thing, too, is that it also remembers the order of elements in relations, which can be really complex. Let's say that we have a news article, just to use that as the example. I create a news article, and I have an image, for example, that I insert here. And it's actually the third image in a list of 3 images. Normally, if you do this in a sort of procedural way, it will come out like this next time you add another relation, right? It comes at the end. But with the interest extension, it will know that this record is supposed to be here, this one is supposed to be here, and whenever the last record comes in, could be never for that matter, it will be inserted in the right place. So it not only keeps track of that there are relations, but also the positioning of those relations. So, this news article will work, and this one will also work, because it will make sure that you can operate with as little data as possible, as long as it's, not a required dependency or something like that. It also has flexible file uploads. so that you can send files to TYPO3. You can use a URL or base64 encode data, and it will be put into a file. It will also do like TYPO3 and convert YouTube and Vimeo URLs to files in the file system so that you can reference them normally. It also uses the if modified since or if non-match HTTP headers so that it will not download a file twice unless it has been changed on the remote server, because it keeps track of the meta information about the files that it's downloading from the remote. It can also save in subfolders, so if you have a lot of files, like you would do if you have 180, 200,000 records or 1 million records, it can split it all in different folders. It also has duplicate handling like in the backend, so you can configure that you want it to replace a file. If it has the same name, you can choose that it should be renamed, or you can choose to have an error happen. Yeah, and it also supports file renaming. So if you have a PDF file that comes in with one name and you're linking to that from, from another website into the TYPO3 installations, and you realize that, oh, it had the wrong name there, so it got the wrong name in TYPO3, you can change the name of the file in the source, and that can also change the file in TYPO3, and then everything works again. So it keeps track of those kind of things as well. It also supports data transformations, and because I love standard wrap, it can do everything standard wrap can do, but you can also use PSR14 events, which is, I guess, the more modern way of doing it, but if you don't want to use code, you can actually, okay, this is the point where it gets a little bit weird, but you can use user TS to configure standard wrap. So standard wrap is originally made for pages and page rendering, but we're using that in the user configuration. So you can have a user with configuration for the interest extension, and it does standard wrap as a kind of rendering of the data that's coming in. Yeah, sort of odd, but it fits. Yeah, and PSR14 events. And it's optimized, so it will not repeat the same operation twice in a row. It keeps track of the previous requests that you've made. Make sure that if a similar request, or if the same request comes in with the same data, it will not repeat it. It will just quit early, and that saves quite a lot of time. You have a...
Forever or only one request?
It compares to the previous request, because you might have a request where you change something one way and then you change it back. So it always looks at the previous time you had a request for the same. So it hashes in a complicated fashion that we'll get into. But it can do that. It won't download the same file twice. You can also disable reference indexing and do that later. If you have a lot of updates that you want to do, you might want to just stop reference indexing and do that at the end, for example, when everything is sorted, because otherwise you'll end up adding and removing references as these come in and out during the import. And yeah, this is old, but in TYPO3 version 9, it disables some stuff in XBase that just made everything go really slow. So how does this work? How do you actually send the data here? It uses a really nice format called JSON, which comes from the JavaScript world. And yeah, it's basically the fields that you would expect in TYPO3, a title and a PID, for example. Yeah, title is fine, but what is this PID? This is automatic reference recognition. When TYPO3 has a field as a relation, marked as a relation, the interest extension automatically treats whatever you put into that field as a remote ID. So this is in the parent page of whatever you're inserting, for example. And TYPO3 will know that site root page. Okay, you've defined that somehow. You can define that in the TYPO3 backend, or you can have defined it earlier in your import, or it will defer it as well. Of course, if it doesn't exist, it will just infer it and wait for you to create the record. It can be a bit more advanced like this, and it goes outside of the screen. But that's not the important thing. You just add text, you add media. Oh, look, this is also a reference. So it adds in a remote ID there for whatever you're going to put there. It uses date-time categories. Here is also a reference. Of course, it also supports multiple references here, comma separated or as an array. And in a REST request, you can do quite a lot already in the URL. You can define an endpoint, whichever endpoint you want. The default is REST, but I mean, choose it. You define the table in TYPO3, the remote ID, the language, and the workspace. Currently, workspace doesn't do anything. We don't have support for it yet, but that's because nobody's done it yet, and I haven't had time to figure it out. But this could look like, this. So if you add content, this is the content table, this is the remote ID. Language, 0 is, yeah. You don't have to add language in 0, it will go to the default if you use that. But you could also, shorten it like this. And here's a post request. Of course, you use authentication, as you normally do. Here's the URL, and here's the data as JSON. But this can get really tedious if you have a lot of data, and sometimes you have data that's somehow related. You want to do all of the records that have to do with one image, or all of the data that has to do with one news article, or something like that. And you can do that in one request with batch. So then you can just say that, well, I'm doing this to the content table, for example. In that case, you can put in the remote IDs here as what would it be, nodes in the JSON. And you can even remove any reference to any table and just use the REST endpoint. And then you put table and then remote ID and language and workspace, and you sort of do it hierarchically like that. And the extension will also automatically recognize what you're trying to do by looking at how you're formatting your data. Same thing with the command line. It uses the same systems here. You can run TYPO3 interest create. Like this, it would look like here. You put into the pages table, remote ID, my new page, and you supply data. Data can also be supplied, of course, as a pipe. So it can be a lot of data. I have used this a lot if I have data that is hosted on the same server, but in a different system, for example. Or if I have a very large JSON file. I had a JSON file of, what is it, 200 megabytes that I iterated through like a stream. And every time I had a new JSON object in that JSON file, it was just sent directly to TYPO3 and handled there. So that went, okay, because that is the story behind this extension, actually, which is interesting to know, hopefully. This started out before with a large PIM import that someone had written an X-base implementation of. So you import data into objects, and then you just create all of the object. And every time you have a relation, you have a new object. And in the end, the whole import started using more than 2 gigabytes of RAM for you just holding on to objects that hadn't yet been used and couldn't be removed by PHP. Once we started doing it like this, we could run requests, as a normal TYPO3 request down to, 20 megabytes or something like that to insert data. So yeah, then you can run multiple streams. In the end, we allowed it to use a few hundred megabytes because there were images and processing and those things. But you know, you can make it really lean in that way. Webhooks are also exactly the same in TYPO3. It's using the same system, but only difference is that you have to specify the method because webhooks only use post, so you can't send a patch request. So then you have to say that this is patch, right? That's how that works.
Sorry?
Yes?
Why you use for this part patch request? That's not the normal way.
It
Request is not the post request.
Yes, exactly. But the webhooks in TYPO3 only accept post requests.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
I understand this example.
Mm-hmm.
You create a new page.
No, this does not create a new page. It actually updates a page because it's a patch request.
You need to use a put request, not a patch.
No, it updates. Put is update. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. It does it right. Okay, don't mind. Whatever. Yeah. But by using different requests, you can say what you're intending to do if you're, if you want to create or update or just create. So that gives you the possibility of getting errors in the error log if it's wrong. Good. In addition to just sending over the data, you can also send metadata. So data that is not inserted into any table, but it can be used by you to modify or extend the data that you're receiving. And one of the things we used it for was for categories, in this case, market categories from a PIM. And this is TypoScript. You can implement this as PHP code as well. But basically, you pick the market metadata from metadata market in the data you're sending over. If it says Denmark, the value should be this. And then you don't have to do any processing remotely on it. So that's also a way of modifying the data after it's arrived. But the key here is really this thing here with the metadata. And if you have different metadata, but the same data, that will be considered two different requests, which means that you can send the request two times, but populate two different websites, for example. Okay, there's a lot that this extension doesn't do. It doesn't do performance because it uses the data handler. So that's a thing you have to accept if you use it. If you want to do a really, really, really optimized, fast data import, of course you do a custom import that just feeds everything directly into the database. But if you want to have backend history, undo, and use TYPO3's internal functions, then this is perfect for you. It doesn't do read operations because it's only meant for pushing data at TYPO3. You can use other things to get your data back again. That's not what it's for. And please don't use it for headless or front-end stuff. People have tried that, but you're basically a back-end user, so yeah, that's not the way you want to work. Yes. Any questions at this point? Yes.
Does it support transforming data?
Yes. You can build transformers with PSR14 events or with standard wrap if you want to be very simple about it. And everything is based on events. So you can also replace certain stages in the import process and rewrite that if you want to, or subclass events.
And can you use that to filter out certain pieces of information?
Yes. And there's a specific event for that as well. At the point when the request is received, you can just push it away if you don't like it. But you can also do that through the process wherever you are before the remote ID has been converted to an internal ID or after it or whatever. Yes?
I have absolutely no idea of reactions.
Yeah.
Whatever this extension
Webhooks.
With TYPO3
Yeah, yeah.
I never used it. Can you go back to the slide maybe? But what you said in there was only possible because of your extension.
So this one.
This one, yeah.
This is how webhooks work. Basically, you send a request to a special URL, you send some data, and you have an API key.
Okay, so TYPO3 knows what to do with this because of the thing on top of
it. Yeah, and it's a different way of authenticating, basically. Yeah. But it only supports post requests, so that's just the oddity with that one. So that's it, yeah. And yeah, I'm looking for users. I'm also looking for contributors, because there's a lot you can do with this that isn't there right now. But I'm trying to keep it very close to the core, also so that, you know, if we make a change in the core later, we can even slim down the implementation here. For example, I'm working on the new TCA objects and trying to make that a part of or support that in the extension, which would remove a lot of the code that I have currently just dealing with the TCA.
Supposedly this is interesting for a lot of companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you do migrations, right?
Yeah. And let's say that you could do a file format like this as well, and just have an option to upload a interest file or something, and it would work the way you intend it to.
Should be more visible maybe.
Yeah.
I was kind of asking about it earlier, but for me it's not a use case at all.
But the thing we could also do here, which I'm thinking about, would be to make a graphical user interface for defining how we process the data as well, so that you can actually send raw data, just push raw data to TYPO3 of some kind, and then everything is done inside of TYPO3, because right now this, you have to prepare this on the other side or outside of TYPO3 in order to make it work correctly. Yeah.
I just want to say that I love that it uses the data handler.
Yeah.
Even if it's slower, maybe.
Yeah.
It's quite good because then you can react on the creation of the object.
Yeah. So that's also a way of making it comply with TYPO3 standards. And I can tell you, I've also found some interesting behaviors in the data handler because of trying this out. But it's, whenever there's changes to the data handler, that should go pretty easy to stay compatible with. So yes. Okay. But check it out. I'm releasing version 3, which is the first one that's using the new namespace. It used to have a different namespace previously. Oh, gosh. I hate this, but there we go. So now it's friends of TYPO3/interest. It used to be pixelum/interest. Yes?
It's available for 13, for version 13 already? Because I look in the TR and there was nothing.
It's not in the TR yet, and it's not released with version 13 compatibility, but the master branch is version 13 compatible. I just have to make the release. I just have been traveling for the last week, so I haven't had time for it. Yeah.
Okay, tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm traveling tomorrow, but yes. But that's also one of the things with, getting other maintainers, just to get people to test it and make releases. And mentioning tests, it has a very good test coverage at the moment. So most things that go wrong in upgrades, for example, or compatibility with new versions is discovered in the tests. Yes. La. Then we're done. That's the last slide. Thank you.